Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a hard truth. 2026 will not be easier. It will be faster, louder, more competitive, more distracting, and the people who win in 2026 won't be the smartest, they won't be the luckiest. They'll be the ones who master themselves, because here's the game you're actually playing, not against the market, not against technology, not against other people. You are in a daily, relentless fight with your own impulses. Your comfort, your excuses, your fear of being seen trying, and possibly failing. Self-mastery starts the moment you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what am I going to do about it? No one is coming to save you. And that's not depressing, that's empowering. Because once you accept radical responsibility, you gain radical control. In 2026, your greatest asset won't be talent, it will be clarity. Clarity about who you are becoming. Clarity about what you tolerate. Clarity about what you do every single day when no one is watching. If your identity is weak, your habits will collapse under pressure. So stop chasing outcomes and start engineering identity. Don't say, I want to be successful. Say, I am the type of person who does the hard thing first. Don't say, I want confidence. Say, I am the type of person who keeps promises to myself. Every action is a vote for the person you're becoming. Now let's talk about motivation. Motivation is amazing, but it's unreliable. If you only show up when you feel inspired, you are outsourcing your future to your emotions. Self-mastery is built on discipline, not hype. Discipline is deciding once and executing daily. It's removing friction from good habits and adding friction to bad ones. In 2026, the winners won't have more willpower. They'll have better systems, and finally, this matters most, stop running from discomfort. Discomfort is not a warning sign, it's a directional signal. Every skill you want lives on the other side of resistance. Confidence is earned through repetition. Strength is forged through struggle. The moment you reframe pain as progress, you stop being afraid of growth. So here's the challenge. Master your mornings, master your attention, master your inner dialogue, because if you can control what you think, what you do, and how you respond when things get hard, no trend, no economy, no setback can take your power. 2026 doesn't need a new version of the world. It needs a new version of you. And that starts today. Radical responsibility is the moment you stop negotiating with reality and start telling yourself the truth. It is the decision to recognize that every outcome in your life, whether you like it or not, is connected to your choices, your actions, and the standards you are willing to accept, not the economy, not your past, not other people. When you outsource blame, you give away power. When you take ownership, you take control. This isn't about guilt or self-punishment, it's about leverage. The fastest way to change your life is to stop asking who's at fault and start asking what you can do next. Most people don't realize how often they give their power away. They say things like, I would be further ahead if I had more support, or I'd be disciplined if my situation was better. Those statements feel harmless, but they quietly train the mind to wait instead of act. Radical responsibility breaks that pattern. It forces you to confront the uncomfortable truth that if something in your life isn't working, you are the common denominator. That realization can sting, but it is also incredibly freeing because it means you are not stuck. You are simply uncommitted to change so far. Owning every outcome means taking responsibility even when the circumstances were unfair, even when you didn't choose the starting line, even when someone else made a mistake that affected you. Responsibility does not mean you caused everything, but it does mean you are responsible for what happens next. The moment you accept that, excuses lose their grip, complaints lose their appeal. You stop wasting energy explaining your situation and start investing energy in improving it. When you practice radical responsibility, your standards rise. You stop saying this is just how I am and start asking, what would the best version of me do here? You stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically. Every challenge becomes a feedback loop instead of a dead end. Every failure becomes data instead of a definition. This mindset rewires how you see obstacles. Problems are no longer proof that you are unlucky. They are proof that growth is required. The more responsibility you take, the more capable you become. Confidence grows not from positive thinking, but from knowing that no matter what happens, you will handle it. That is the core of self-mastery, the unshakable belief that your life moves in the direction of your decisions, and that you are finally willing to own them. Identity is the invisible force driving every result you get, whether you're aware of it or not. Long before outcomes show up in your life, decisions are already being made based on who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who quits when things get uncomfortable, you will find reasons to stop. If you see yourself as someone who follows through, you will find ways to continue. This is why chasing results without upgrading identity always leads to frustration. You can want success badly, but if your self-image doesn't match the behavior required, your actions will quietly sabotage you. Most people try to change their lives from the outside in. They set goals, make vision boards, and wait for confidence to arrive after success. But identity works in the opposite direction. You must decide who you are before the world gives you proof. That decision then shapes your habits, your reactions, and your tolerance for discomfort. Every small action becomes a signal to your brain reinforcing that identity. When you show up on time, you are not just being punctual, you are becoming reliable. When you do the hard task first, you are not just being productive, you are becoming disciplined. The reason identity matters more than results is because results are temporary, but identity compounds. A goal can be achieved once, but an identity produces consistent outcomes over time. If you only focus on what you want, you'll feel motivated for a moment. If you focus on who you are becoming, you'll act even when motivation disappears. This is where real transformation happens. You stop asking, how do I get this result? And start asking, what would someone like me do in this situation? When identity leads, decision-making becomes simpler. You no longer debate whether to show up, you just do. You no longer rely on external validation because your standards come from within. Progress stops feeling random and starts feeling inevitable because your behavior aligns with your self-image. Over time, the results you once chased start showing up as a side effect of who you have become. Motivation feels powerful in the moment, but it is one of the most unreliable tools for long-term growth. It rises and falls with mood, energy, and circumstances. Discipline, on the other hand, does not care how you feel. It is a structure, not an emotion. People who master themselves understand that waiting to feel ready is a trap. They build routines that remove decision-making and reduce friction so progress happens automatically. Discipline is not about being harsh with yourself, it's about being honest about what needs to be done and consistent about doing it. When you rely on motivation, you negotiate with your feelings. When you rely on discipline, you honor commitments. This is why disciplined people appear confident, not because they never struggle, but because they trust themselves to act regardless of resistance. Systems are the secret weapon here. A system decides when you wake up, what you work on, and how you recover. It protects you from distraction and excuses. Motivation might get you started, but systems keep you going. The more disciplined your structure, the less willpower you need. Over time, discipline becomes identity, and effort turns into rhythm. When discipline replaces motivation, progress stops being dramatic and starts being dependable. You no longer need perfect days to move forward. Average days become productive. Bad days become manageable. You stop relying on emotional highs and start building momentum through repetition. That consistency, applied over time, creates results that motivation alone could never sustain. Pain is not a sign that you are failing. It is a signal that you are growing. Too often, people interpret discomfort as a warning to stop, to retreat, to protect themselves from struggle. That instinct is understandable, but it is also deadly for anyone who wants to master themselves. Every skill, every habit, every level of success worth having lives on the other side of resistance. Pain is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It is a compass pointing directly at the areas in your life where growth is necessary and where your current strategies are insufficient. When you start to see pain this way, your relationship with struggle changes. You stop fearing it and start analyzing it. You ask, what is this discomfort teaching me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? The most successful people are not those who avoid hardship. They are the ones who learn to navigate it. They become comfortable being uncomfortable, and in that space, they accumulate skills, resilience, and confidence that the untested will never know. Pain forces clarity, it forces action, it forces adaptation. Without it, you stagnate. Pain also exposes your habits, your mindset, and your commitment. When things are easy, anyone can show up. When things hurt, that is when the weak drop away and the committed rise. Mastery is not about avoiding discomfort. It is about consistently stepping into it with intention, curiosity, and courage. Every time you lean into the hard moments, you rewire your brain, reinforcing that struggle is not punishment but proof of progress. Over time, this creates a feedback loop. The more pain you face, the stronger you become, and the stronger you become, the more capable you are of facing even greater challenges. When discomfort becomes familiar, fear loses its power. Obstacles stop being walls and start being stepping stones. The world doesn't slow down for your comfort, and if you wait for the perfect conditions, you will wait forever. Real mastery begins when you stop running from the uncomfortable, stop blaming circumstance, and start using every difficult moment as fuel to become a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of yourself. Every struggle becomes data, every failure becomes a lesson, and every moment of resistance becomes an opportunity to prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought possible. Pain teaches patience, endurance, and creativity. It forces you to innovate when your usual methods fail. It cultivates resilience by showing that setbacks are temporary and survivable. And most importantly, it builds confidence. Not the fleeting confidence of praise or success, but the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you can endure, adapt, and thrive regardless of circumstance. This is why those who master themselves don't fear struggle. They chase it in the right ways. They understand that pain is the raw material of progress, and that avoidance guarantees stagnation. Every time you embrace discomfort, you edge closer to the person capable of achieving what others call impossible, because mastery is not granted. It is earned, one hard lesson at a time. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. Most people treat their daily actions as insignificant, as if skipping one workout, one disciplined hour, or one difficult conversation doesn't matter. But mastery isn't built in grand gestures. It's forged in the accumulation of small, deliberate decisions repeated over time. Each choice either reinforces the version of you that quits, procrastinates, or avoids discomfort, or it reinforces the version of you that shows up, follows through, and embraces growth. If you want to master yourself, you must start seeing every moment as a test of who you are and who you are willing to become. Consistency compounds more than talent. Doing the hard thing once is courageous. Doing it repeatedly is transformative. Self-mastery isn't about being perfect, it's about being relentless. It's about showing up on days when you feel like quitting, doing the work when no one is watching, and honoring the commitments you made to yourself even when it's inconvenient. Your identity strengthens in these moments because you are proving to yourself, not to anyone else, that your word means something. The accumulation of these moments creates a life that aligns with your values, vision, and potential. Mastery requires clarity of focus. Distractions are everywhere: social media, opinions of others, endless streams of content. But self-mastery demands ruthless prioritization. You must decide what matters and then ruthlessly eliminate everything else. Focus is not a passive act. It is a muscle that grows when exercised deliberately. By controlling your attention, you control the quality of your life. The person who can focus when it matters will always outperform the person who has more talent but lets attention scatter. Attention is your most valuable currency, and mastery begins when you spend it consciously on the things that actually move the needle. Finally, self-mastery is not about rigid control, it is about freedom. The more you master your mind, your habits, and your responses, the less you are a prisoner of circumstance. You stop reacting impulsively, stop letting fear dictate action, and stop surrendering your life to external events. Mastery is the ability to choose in every moment how you act, what you prioritize, and who you become. When you own that power, life ceases to feel chaotic, and even challenges that once seemed overwhelming become manageable, because you are no longer waiting for external conditions to align. You are creating alignment from within.